is Elliott Serrano and Jose Melendez coming to you from Dreamland Comics in Schaumburg, Illinois. Thank you for joining us here on the Comic Culture Warrior YouTube channel. We are going back into doing a couple reviews here. We're not going to beat to death some of the previous issues that we've had with these titles. We'll just go over a couple things and hopefully bring up something new. But the first book we want to look at is something that we talked about last week, was New Avengers number 50. It's the great big number 50 blowout by Brian Bendis and a jam piece with other artists where the long-awaited confrontation between the New Avengers and the Dark Avengers take place. Look at this.
No, they don't.
Wait, hold on. You let me set up.
No.
Look at this great cover. Look at this. The New Avengers and the Dark Avengers are going at it. You've got Wolverine versus his, baby Wolverine. You've got Hawkeye. Look at that. It's totally missing out. You should have Hawkeye going up against Ronin here, but whatever. In any case, that's
they're counterparts, right?
Right, they're counterparts. That's what was teased. And if anything, Bendis has learned how to be a tease. I gave him some credit last time when I looked at the end of New Avengers number 49. I said, you know what? At least he's not dragging out this whole thing, having the New Avengers confront the Dark Avengers. That we're just going to go out. He was just saying, screw it. We're not going to tease this out for months and months, and the teams are going to go at it. And man, was I wrong. I was wrong. First, with New Avengers 50, I gotta say,
man,
10 opens with 10 pages of the Avengers talking. The first 4 pages are them just watching television.
Yep.
They're watching TV, and then they talk for a while. That's 10 whole pages of dialogue, of superheroes standing around and talking. Is this the Justice Society? I mean, that used to drive me nuts about the Justice Society books, that's what would happen a lot. That you'd have all these people standing around in costume talking to each other, and it seemed ridiculous, And this is what happened here. And then what happens after that?
Oh, you mean after they stopped talking?
Yeah.
I don't know, I fell asleep at that point. So they decide, all right, so we got to go after the Dark Avengers, we need a plan. And you were talking before, now superheroes are finally making a plan.
A plan.
There's no way it can backfire. They're making a plan, and so they use...
Because you got a really brilliant person in Peter Parker there.
Right.
Peter Parker's a genius, okay? He's one of the smartest people in the Marvel
Master tactician Bucky...
Oh, and you got Bucky Barnes in there, right, who's, Captain America's finally joined the team. Okay, fine. And you've got Ronin, Clint Barton, who's a former leader of the West Coast Avengers. He knows how to be a leader. Mm-hmm. So this team has buckets of leadership and smarts on the team, and yet, nah.
Yeah, so their whole thing is all right, let's try to set them up. We can't fight him here at Bucky's house because he's complaining about how shit's getting broken, like he did last issue.
It's true, yeah.
So we need to find him somewhere else. So they set up a thing where the real Spider-Woman is back now, and they're gonna try to make her a traitor again. Yeah. So can I tell you right there? I saw through that thing in a second. If I was Osborn, now we're gonna get into why the villains are super smart in this issue yet again. But really though, it's so obvious that she just happens to be a traitor now. Mm-hmm. Lucky for us. Mm-hmm. And by the way, can Bendis stop doing this fucking joke where Venom wants to eat everybody? You know what?
It's true.
I got tired after reading the first time he made that joke. But he makes this joke in every comic 5 times.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's not a running joke. Well, it's supposed to be a running joke. But, oh, my God. It's so tired and old. And while we're talking about bad dialogue, fucking Luke Cage talking about Doctor Strange doing a king from Kung Fu, walking the earth.
Walk there.
All right, we get it, Brendan. You love movies. You love, just quotes after quote.
He lifts a lot of dialogue. I noticed here in the scene when
last issue too.
Right, and when the Avengers are fighting the Hoods group again, Spider-Man quotes a line straight out of the first Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
And they're going, wait a minute, I've heard that before. That Bendis is constantly pulling dialogue for movies.
It's kind of sad.
It's like,
and he's getting paid top dollar
Yeah.
to just steal other people's lines, clever quotes.
Yeah, clever quotes. Right. Bendis, I'm going to tell you right now, I will pay you $100 if you can sneak a ShamWow commercial into an Avengers book. If you can put the entire dialogue of a ShamWow commercial in Avengers books, I will send you $100, dude. That's my challenge. Okay, but in any case, it teases the new Avengers versus the Dark Avengers. That doesn't happen. Yet again, the new Avengers are going up against the Hoods group, and yet again, they're cornered, and yet again, they figure out a way out. And at the very end, you're sitting there going, how stupid are the heroes? How stupid are they? They just can't. They cannot find their own asses using both hands and a compass. I'm telling you. So that's that. But I will say there were a couple things about the book that I thought were cool, that I did like. Because
there was actually something in here that I really liked too, but I'm gonna let you.
Yeah, right. First, the different battle scenes with each hero done by a different artist. Gatos doing Spider-Woman, Aha doing,
Iron Fist.
Iron Fist, because he does the regular Iron Fist book.
Lionel Francis Yu doing Wolverine.
Right, doing Wolverine, and for once, Greg Horn doing some sequential art.
This is what I'm talking about. All right, this is there's something else I liked in this book. I'm not gonna. Like, seeing this Greg Horn, page snuck in here, it's like reading it, and then Joe Quesada coming up and, punching the kidneys right when you see it. Because at least when the Greg Horn, when they put his awful art on the cover, at least it's up front, and you know what you're getting. But to sneak it into a comic, it's just like...
That's really...
Quesada was like, all right, we're having this jam issue. Like, who can we get? These really great artists. Art Adams? Nah, right. He's not that good. Let's see. Who else? Alan Davis? No, and not Alan Davis. Ed McGuinness? No, not Ed McGuinness. You know what I want to see? I want to see an artist who basically just likes to Photoshop awful art. All right? Let's get someone who is really bad at Photoshopping, first of all, and whose art is just so not dynamic and it just looks all the same. Because that's what we need to put in a jam issue of the anniversary of New Avengers. Let's find the most generic, talentless, just hack of an artist and throw him in there.
Now that I look about
Hey, do we have Greg Horn under contract? Yes, we do. Let's get him to do it. God damn, does Greg Horn suck? Sorry. Anyway, go on.
I just found it interesting that...
I hate his... It's so...
Because I know as I was reading it, I was going, there's something funky going on here. The styles kept dramatically switching, and it really wasn't until I got to the Greg Horn page that I realized, it's not them, suddenly throwing different artists together. It's really them taking one particular character and dedicating each artist to it, so...
And I understand that Greg Horn did do the covers of Miss Marvel,
right.
And that's why... But I don't need to see that shit in the comic. His covers are bad enough. I don't need to see his sequential art.
Yeah. I thought it was a clever idea, but maybe the execution wasn't all that. And at the very end, we are left with more talking. But I did like this part. I liked how...
And I want to talk about really quick about how the Avengers turn into Monty Python and the Holy Grail. with all the heroes who are like, oh no, run away! And they just all the Avengers just run away. It's just like, oh my god, this team is so inept and terrible.
They're pretty bad.
But when you got the people that are on there, you think that you can do something with those characters.
They're not a team at all is a problem. They're just not a team. They don't fight as a team. They are pretty haphazard in what they do. And I wonder if that's because Bendis is doing that intentionally or... he just doesn't know how to handle them. I will say this, though. This bit at the end, when Clint Barton goes on the news and basically says what everybody's been saying. Norman Osborn's a maniac. He's a psychopath. He's been the Goblin. He's been a villain. The fact that he's been doing what he does, it makes no sense that he's in charge of Hammer, and we're going to deal with it. But as much as I like this scene here, it just, again... It's setting up something that we know is not going to happen. We know that the new Avengers are not going to take down Osborn, and we know that they're not going to be able to beat the Dark Avengers, pure and simple.
And for an issue that was supposed to be the Dark Avengers versus the New Avengers, they didn't even fight. They didn't even meet.
They didn't even fight or meet. And on top of that, there was no resolution to anything.
Nope.
No resolution.
This comic was pretty much worthless for $5. Like, nothing really happened. It's just same old storylines, like, oh, the Hood comes in and beats up the New Avengers again, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, like, it's so tired and old already. And you paid $4 for this. I like the fact that the issue after they raised it to $3.99, they give you a double-sized issue so they can charge you $4.99 for it. Because this would have been a $3.99 book if they didn't raise the price. But they just raised it, so now it's $4.99.
Well, this book did have...
but the
something
best thing,
good. But wait.
the best thing about the book.
The best thing about the book we'll have to talk about in the next segment. So we'll come back and we hope you join us.